And I have to double check my phone to see if I can actually see the back of it to agree to that recording. Give me a second. Oh no. Hopefully that worked. Okay, here we go. So come on up to the tops of your mat. Hopefully that is going to work. It's funny not being able to not having a clue what you guys are actually seeing, but we'll see how this goes. So go ahead and come up to the tops of your mat. Bring your big toes together. Sides of the feet are parallel. Give yourself a little rock forward and back, connecting the mounds of your feet, right and left, with your mat. And finding that balance between all three mounds, big toe, little toe, and heel. Then I want you just to take a deep breath in. And with a sigh, just let everything go. Leave the day's activities and maybe the busyness behind and just try and find yourself on your mat. And just bring your attention inwards as you find your breath, inhaling in through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And I just want you to set up into your mountain pose, finding your toes spreading nice and wide and gently settling into your mat without gripping the mat. Feeling a lift of the arches of your feet up through the ankle joints, up through the shins, bringing a little bit of softness into the knee joints, and then pull up through the kneecaps, engaging through the fronts of the thighs. Allow the thighs to internally rotate just a little bit, finding tension as you squeeze them towards that imaginary center line. Let the sit bones open up and let the tail lengthen. And then feel a lift of the spine, one vertebrae at a time, allowing the blades to open up wide through the back and allow the collar to become wide. With a little tuck of the chin, bring your ears over your shoulders over your hips, and let your crown reach towards the sky. And then just bring your breathing. And tonight, we're gonna have a little focus around body hugs. So I want you to think about inhaling deeply. And as you exhale, think about the torso hugging all the way around, the rib cage, the belly, the back. Inhale wide. And like that little body hug, allow everything to pull in and hug through the ribs, through the belly, through the shoulders. Everything draws in. Inhaling deeply. And exhaling completely, drawing the pelvic floor up, pulling the navel to spine, pulling the ribs in. Inhale. And exhale. Allow your breath to continue to lengthen and deepen. In through the belly, up into the lungs. Exhaling from lungs, from belly, and from nose. Inhaling deeply. And exhaling completely. Feeling the vibrations on the roof of the mouth as you exhale, and that hollowness in the back of the throat as you inhale. And as we go through our different poses tonight, I want you to really check in with your breath. If you find that it becomes labored or shortened, back out of your pose just a little bit and bring deepness back into your breath. On our next inhalation, we're going to take our hands up towards the sky, palms together. And as you exhale, hinge at the hips, bend at the knees, and swoop down to the floor. Inhale, lift all the way up. And exhale to fold. And inhale to lift. And exhale to fold. This time, take a little hinge off to that left side. Little moon to the left. Back. And a little hinge off to the other side. Ribs up away from hips. Back to the earth. Go ahead and take that breath all the way up tall. This time, swan dive forward. Bring belly to thighs, chest to knees. Forehead relaxing to the shins. Soften the knees as much as you need to bring your belly onto those thighs. Go ahead and give everything a little shake, look side to side. Tuck the chin in just a little bit. And then let's start to round up vertebrae by vertebrae. Tucking the tail under, pulling the navel in. Back is wide. Inhale at the top, taking a deep breath in. And then exhale, back down you go. One vertebrae at a time. Hands down to the ground, soften your knees. Inhale all the way up tall to the sky. And like an accordion, fold back to the earth. Let's take that hinge off to the right side, ribs up away from hips. And back to the earth. And off to the other side. And back to the earth. Go ahead and come all the way up tall. Swan dive forward, belly towards thighs, chest to the knees, relax to the forehead. Fingertips to the ground, start to round up. Vertebrae upon vertebrae. Take a deep breath at the top. And then back down you go. This time, fingertips to the ground, lower your sit bones, come up into that chair pose. So I want you to bring that focus back to hugging. We're gonna bring our hands down in front, thumbs turned up. Let's draw our shoulders back, open through the chest, and then reach the hands away without the elbows bending. Use the shoulder joint, draw them back, reach them away, open up through the upper back. Oh, keep sinking into your chair pose. Reach away and then draw them back. I want you to keep them here. Stay in your little chair pose. Step back with the left leg, open your hands up, touch your toe, and then give yourself a hug. Bring your legs back together. Keep your bend. Open up to the other side. And hug. Take it back. Hug together. And step back right, and I want you to keep it there. Let's take your fingers behind, link them together, and reach the knuckles away from you as you squeeze your blades together and open through your chest. Keeping that bend in the front knee, lengthen the back leg, pull into the pelvis and up to the pelvic floor. So find that stretch into the hip flexor, in through the front of the thigh, in through the front of the chest. Keep reaching. And just become aware of what finger you have on top, because we will be reversing this grip on the other side. Let's go ahead and release the hands, bring them all the way up. Take your heel down and hinge forward into a nice long line from fingertips to armpits, to hips to heel. Keep your toes turned forward. Feel that stretch into the back of the calf and into the Achilles, and then up onto the toe. Back down to the heel. Elbows to ribs. Heel to the floor. 2 more times. Big reach. And last one. And down. Go ahead and shift your body weight forward. Tuck your toe under. Weight into that left leg. Lift out of the right leg. Feel that stretch in through the front of the ankle, into the base of the toes, up through the front. And relax. Give it a wiggle. And again, lift up. And relax 2 more times. Really feel that nice big stretch. Lifting away from the floor rather than pressing into the floor. And 1 more time. Beautiful. Feet together. Inhale the hands up. Swan dive forward. Give everything a little shake. Start to round up vertebrae upon vertebrae. Tuck the chin in. Inhale at the top, nice and wide through the collar. And then back down you go. Fingertips to your toes, lower your sit bones. Inhale, come back up into that chair pose. Drop your hands down, lift up to the chest, draw the shoulders back. Reach them in front, keep the belly pulled in. Lengthen the tail to the back end of your mat. Reach them forward. Draw them back and stay there. Starting with the right foot, step back. Keep that bend in the leg. Give yourself a hug. Other side, step back and alternate which hand is on the top. Give yourself a hug. Step back, open up. And hug. Last time, we want to stay back there on that left foot. Tuck your hands behind, reverse your grip. Reach the knuckles away as you squeeze your blades together. Keeping front knee over ankle. Draw the pelvis in. Tilt the tail. Reach that back knee. Find that stretching through the front of the hip flexor on that left side. Front of the thigh on the left side. And a nice wide stretch through the chest and the shoulders. Now, if you have the flexibility, as you reach your knuckles towards the back of your mat, see if you can actually close your hands or bring your wrists a little bit closer together. Everybody's flexibility through their shoulders and their chest is going to be different. So just a little option. And if you can't actually link your fingers, you can always use your strap. Release your hands all the way up. Go ahead and hinge forward, push the heel to the ground. Making sure that toes are turned forward, parallel to each other. A nice long line from fingertips to armpits to hips to heels. Let's come up onto the toe. Press down to the heel. Up onto the toe. Down to the heel. 2 more. Feeling that nice big stretch into the back of the calf. And the strength through the back of the calf as you lift up. Stay here. Feel that little stretch first. And then hands to hips. Curl the toe under and lift away. Weight is in your right leg, lifting out of your hip socket. Relax and wiggle. And again, if you bring attention to your pelvic floor, pull up through the pelvic floor, will help you lift through your hip socket and squeeze into that right bum cheek. Relax. 2 more times. Lift up. And relax. And 1 more time. Beautiful. Bring your feet together. Inhale the hands all the way up. This time, take them forward. Big scoop up and over. Slide them down to your toes. Come halfway up. Lift through the crown, lift through the tail. Open the tips of the shoulders back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. 1 more time. Halfway lift. And forward fold. Sink your sit bones, reach your hands up, come back into that chair pose, and then drop your hands back down. We're gonna go back into our step backs, our opening and our hugs. So go ahead and step back left, squeeze together, keeping those knees bent. Open right, squeeze together. 2 more times. Inhale, exhale. Last one, I want you to stay here. Stay here, finding that tall lunge. Reach the back knee this time. Lift your hands up, lengthen both legs, and drop the elbows down, bend both knees. Lift on up. Drop on down. So lengthening both legs, lifting up. Keep that little bit of a pelvic tilt to find that stretch. 1 more time, lifting all the way up. Keep the legs long. Shift your body weight forward, pressing that back heel to the ground and come into pyramid pose. So your back toe can turn out slightly, or they can keep the toes forward if you have that flexibility in your calves. Nudge your left hip back and your left heel forward. See if you can get that really long line in the back of the thigh and the back of that lower leg. And I want you to feel free to stay here. If you have your block, you can always push into your block. Notice how it changes when you push away rather than when you're supporting and holding, or add some movement. Inhale the hands out. Exhale to fold. Inhale, press and lift up. Squeeze that left bum cheek and fold. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. And last one, I want you to passively fold over top and just hang out there for a moment or 2. Continue to nudge your left hip back and your left heel forward. And I'm going to readjust myself just a little bit. Let's see if I fall off my mat here. All right, we're going to bend our front leg, lift our back heel, and come back up into that tall lunge pose. So finding that little tilt of the pelvis, lift up nice and high, open through the chest. And then just rotate that back leg, coming into your warrior two pose. Front foot parallel, or front foot landing the arch of the back foot, and back foot parallel to the back of your mat. Let's see if I actually slide off my mat. Let's just add a little bit of movement first. So come on up, have a look at that front knee, opening towards that second and third toe. Come on up and into that warrior two. Inhale, lift, and exhale, hold here. Open up wide. We're going to take our thumbs up for this one. Open up wide, rotate open through that front thigh. Let's lower the back arm, lift the front arm, coming into our peaceful warrior. Maybe sink a little bit deeper into that front leg, feeling that big stretch in through the groin and the inner thigh of that back leg. We're going to take a deep breath in, open up through the chest, and as you exhale, I'm going to start to windmill the arms and come into that side angle pose. So see if you can bring your bicep towards your ear, open your armpit. You can hang out with your arm on your thigh. Block. You can bring it down to your block. Your choice. Or you can let it reach for the opposite arm. We're gonna add a little bit of movement here to inhale, lengthen the front leg, extended peaceful warrior, and then into that side angle pose. Inhale, lift up, push out of the front leg. Exhale to reach. Inhale to lift. And exhale, we're gonna stay there. I want you to take your block and just place it in front of your toe while you have a moment. We're gonna open our hands back up into warrior two, and then you're gonna pivot on that back foot and come back up into your tall lunge. So take your hands all the way up, pivot on that back foot, nice and tall, lengthen both legs, come back into your passive pyramid pose. So just take a moment, pressing the heel down, lengthen through the spine. Make sure you have your block where you can reach it. I might turn myself here. Let's place our hands on our block to start. And you can use both hands if you want, or you can use one. We're gonna kick out of that back leg, soften the front knee to start, and lift up into a balance pose. So this is your warrior three. We have been doing lots of glute med work. So that bum muscle off to the outside of our hip. And so we're gonna work it tonight. Press out through the right heel, toes turned down. And I want you to think about drawing in through the belly and squeezing that left bum cheek. I'm gonna leave my left hand on my block. My right hand comes up to my hip bone, and we're gonna start to roll open through that hip. Right hip on top of left hip. Find that little spot to focus on. Working on balance, and then go ahead and reach your right hand all the way up. Now you can stay with your hand on your block. Oops, I might fall over if I don't. Or, let me go on the floor. Or you can float with your hands opposite direction. Or you can leave your hand on your thigh. You decide. Let's hold for another 3, 2, and then on 1, soften your front knee, step back into your warrior 2. Take a moment. If you need to move through your hips a couple times, feel free to move through your hips. Give them a little break. But we're gonna move back into our peaceful warrior. Windmill the hands into your side angle pose. Extend that front leg for peaceful warrior this time. Windmill the arms, extended side angle pose. And one more time. This time as you go into that side angle pose, come back up into your half moon balance pose. Lift. So your hips should already be in this angle. See if you can keep that right hip bone over top of left. Squeeze into the left bum cheek. And then whenever you're ready, rotate back into your warrior three pose, turning the toe down. Let's hold here for another 3. Keep pulling up to the pelvic floor for 2. And on 1, right foot comes behind left foot, unhinge. Whew. Hands into the back hip pockets. Stack the forearms or come into reverse prayer position for a little balance pose. And a little bit of a break. Deep breath. Close your eyes. Keep that chin parallel to the floor. And just rock forward and back until you have that balance between front foot and left foot or back foot. And try to push into the mounds of the feet to lift up. Try to keep the tips of the shoulders open. Tummy is tight, chest is wide. And allow your breath to settle back in. So good. Let's take another 2 breaths. And last one. Open your eyes, step your feet together. Inhale the hands all the way up. Big reach forward, up and over. Slide down. Hands up your shins, just below the knees, come a halfway lift. Exhale to lower down. Inhale halfway up. Exhale to lower down. And last one, lengthening out, tips of the shoulders open. And exhale to relax. Bend your knees, come up into your chair pose. Lifting first to sink the hips back. Lower the hands, draw the shoulders back, open the chest. Let's step back with the right leg first. So keep those knees bent, work those quad muscles. Open up. Give yourself a hug. Open up. Give yourself a hug. 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Last time, step back and stay there. Let's inhale to lift up, lengthening both legs. Exhale, draw down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale. One more time, come all the way up. Bring that heel down, hinge forward, come back into that pyramid pose. Lengthen out that right leg. Lifting the sit bone back, pushing the right heel away. Lengthening through the crown of the head. Feel free to stay there, trying to square the shoulders and your hips. Bring them parallel to your mat or add some movement. Inhale the arms out wide. Exhale to fold. Inhale to lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale to lift. Exhale to fold. And one more time. Squeeze and lift. Right bum cheek is working. And then let everything relax. Relax the forehead to the shins. Continue to lift that right sit bone up. Continue to push the right heel away. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Sometimes it's nice to just settle into a pose for a little bit longer. And then soften that front leg. Inhale the hands all the way up. Lift that back heel. Coming into our tall lunge first. Draw shoulders back. Draw belly button in. And then open up into warrior 2. So just by pivoting that heel down, it should land in its rightful spot. Front foot turn towards the front of our mat. Line it up with the arch of the back leg. Add some movement for those hips first. Lift out. Sink. To lift. Exhale. And one more. Let's come into our warrior 2. Stay here. Everything is open wide through the chest. Lower the back arm. Lift the front arm. Peaceful warrior, but bend into that front leg. Pull up through the pelvic floor. Find that stretch, groin and inner thighs, that back leg. And then windmill those arms. Bring left bicep to the ear. Sink your ribs down towards the thigh. Think about a long line from the wrist to the armpit, to the hip, to the heel. Opening the armpit to the side of your mat. Right hand can rest, it can reach, or it can go down onto your block. And then add some movement. Inhale, extend the front leg, come up into our peaceful warrior. And exhale, reach. Inhale to lift. Exhale to reach. 2 more breaths. And last one. Go ahead and come into that side angle pose. Just hold here for a breath or 2 more. Use the core muscles. Tight up through the belly. Pull up through the pelvic floor. Come back into your warrior 2. Inhale to lift. Come back into our tall lunge. Go ahead and draw the elbows in just for a breath. Lift all the way up, lengthen the legs. Come back into that pyramid pose. Grab your block. Soften that front leg. Push out of the back leg. Into warrior 3. So push up through the heel of the back foot. Toe turns down. Press firmly. We'll lengthen through that spine. Working on the ankle joint. I often have to come onto my floor because I do find that my mat is a bit cushy. And I do find that I tend to topple over a little bit. But let's put our right hand just look directly below the shoulder. Walk left hand, come on to the floor. Walk the left hand up to your left hip bone. Squeeze right bum cheek. When you're ready, start to open up. This is a really great pose to do up against a wall as well. Open the hand. Right hand can rest on the block. It can hover into your balancing pose. It can rest on your thigh. You decide what this is going to look like. Lengthen. So think about long rather than lifting. So fingertips are lengthening, heel is lengthening for another 3, 2, soften the front leg, step back into warrior 2. Inhale up into our peaceful warrior. Exhale, side angle pose. Extend the leg this time. Inhale. Exhale, side angle pose. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. And then on your last one, inhale to come up. Exhale, right hand onto the block. Lift up into our half moon balance pose. Draw the belly in, squeeze that right bum cheek, open the left hip bone. Lift out of the right leg for another 3, 2. You're gonna rotate the hand down, rotate the toe down, back into our warrior 3. Everything engaged, everything is long. And then when you're ready, take that back toe behind the front heel. Unhinge, come up. Oh, go ahead and stretch all the way up. Bring those hands behind as you come into your balance beam on the other side. And just take it forward and back. See if you can find balance between front foot and back foot. And between all 3 mounts. And just take a couple minutes to settle into your breath. Really great work. Been working so hard on those stabilizing hip muscles. So great to use them and see how they react. So I wanted you to just move into that half moon balance pose from 2 different options. Coming from a balancing rotating option where you have to really squeeze that glute muscle to open up the hips. And then coming from our warrior 2 option where the hips are already open before you move into that pose. So feel free to take that and practice it throughout your week. Go ahead and open your eyes when your feet together. Inhale the hands all the way up. Exhale, swan dive forward. And just hang out there for a moment. Give everything a little shake. Maybe look side to side again. And then go ahead and just bring your hands down to the ground. Step back right, step back left, and come into tabletop. Let's lengthen those shins away from our knees. Stack the hands underneath our shoulders, turning the eyes of the elbows forward, opening up through the tips of the shoulders. And let's just move through cat and cow. Draw the belly button, tuck the chin, tilt the tail. Inhale up into cow. Exhale. Inhale to lift. And exhale. Let's come into a neutral spine. And feel free to widen your knees a little bit if you'd like here. I'm going to walk my hands forward just a tiny bit. I want you to draw in through the belly and take your left hand and roll it open. So rib cage are widening. If this is not comfortable for your shoulder, you can tuck it into your back hip pocket. But I want you to think about rolling the rib cage as you pull in through the belly. And then take that hand, big stretch, big rotation, thread it underneath your armpit and come into a shoulder stretch. So reach it all the way through. You can take your right hand a little bit wider now and take your gaze in the same direction. Keep your tail lifted. So similar to our happy puppy pose, which we'll move into shortly. So tail is lifted, hips are square, walking that shoulder right underneath, taking your gaze with it. So good for our shoulders. And you can really work on that rotation through the rib cage as you move into that pose. And do notice whether your weight is shifting over to that right side or whether you can keep your weight fairly square. And then come back to center. As you come back to center, just take that left hand and press into the back of the wrist, gently, so that you can get a really nice stretch to the back of the wrist here. And then we're gonna come to the other side. So square everything out, tight tummies, inhale that right hand all the way up, rotating through the rib cage or back hip pocket and just rolling your shoulder back. And then taking that right hand and threading it underneath that left armpit, walking that left hand out further, rolling into your shoulder, lifting through the tail. And try to keep the shoulder away from the ear as you come into this nice big shoulder stretch. Beautiful, come on back up. Same thing, tuck to the back of the wrist, give it a nice little stretch. I want you to be gentle with this. And then bring your hands back in front. We're gonna tuck our toes under and we're gonna push all the way back into our downward facing dog. And just walk up the heels, walk up the hips. Give them a little stretch. Feeling that stretch into the back of the calves, rolling the biceps in, opening up through the back. Let's come up tall onto our toes, lower into a tall plank. And remember, your option is to come into a modified plank. You pick it. I'm gonna move my block so I don't bonk it with my head. And then I want you just to take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, shift forward just a little bit, feel everything engaged. Inhale, come back. Exhale, shift forward. Inhale, come back. Exhale, shift forward. One more time, inhaling back. And this time, as you exhale, shift forward and lower down. Hugging biceps into the rib cage. That supports the body as you lower. Lengthen your toes. Squeeze your big toes together. Bring your hands underneath your forehead. The ground. Let's inhale to lift. push the toes into the ground first. So lifting the ribs, keeping the hands on the ground to start. Feel the squeeze of the glutes, but feel them lengthen into the back of the hamstrings. And then lower on down. Come on up. Keeping the toes to the ground and lower and down. This time, if you can, bring your hands up with your forehead, but keep your toes on the ground. And lift. Push the toes and activate the legs. Lower down. And I want you to feel free to play with your breathing because we have done it. Reverse, where we exhale to come up and inhale to come down. As long as you're breathing, we do tend to use the exhalation when we're working the muscles and inhalation when we're relaxing the muscles. Let's take one more time, but everybody is different on what feels more comfortable for them. And lower and down. Bring your hands into your armpits. Take a deep breath in. Reverse your push-up either to your knees or to your toes. Let's go right back to downward dog. And then just come up onto your toes, lower to your shin bones, and come into child's pose first. Just reverse that stretch into the low back. Widen through the arms. Widen through the back. Two more breaths. Keep reaching your fingertips. And then when you're ready, you're going to inhale forward into modified plank and all the way down chaturanga. So just so we can land back into our belly again. Let's come back with our hands underneath our forehead, toes pushing into the ground, big toes towards each other, inner thighs zipping up. This time, as you come up, bring your feet, your hands, and your head up together. And then reach fingers away from one another, toes away from one another into our skydiver pose. Bring hands and toes back together and lower to your mat. Play with your breathing. Feel free to inhale to lift, exhale to open, inhale back together, and exhale to lower, or try the reverse. Exhale to lift, inhale to open, exhale back together, and inhale to lower. I want you to do it 2 more times. Play with your breathing. And last one. Hands to your armpits, lower and down. Take a deep breath in. Reverse your push-up right back to child's pose. Curl the tail under. I want you to enjoy this child's pose. We're going to move into downward facing dog with a slight variation through for that glute med again, and then moving into pigeon pose. So hopefully I can guide you with my voice so that you don't have to look. But go ahead and spread your fingers wide, tuck the toes under, come up into downward facing dog. So we have done downward dog series where our knee comes to opposite elbow, same side elbow and chin. We're going to do it slightly different. So let's take our left leg all the way up. As you come down, I'm going to get you to shift into a tall plank and take your left knee to your left elbow. Hover it there. Without changing from your plank, take your left knee to your right elbow. Just pull it across, back to your left elbow, and all the way back up into your 3-legged dog. Let's do it again. Take that left knee to left elbow, over to the right elbow, the left elbow, back to your 3-legged dog. And one more time. Tuck it to your left elbow, right elbow, left elbow, stay there, pigeon pose. Lengthen your toe behind. Come up into a nice proud pigeon first. just so that you can shift with those hips, giving our glute med a nice big stretch. Lengthening out, trying to get your toe to reach away from your shin bone. And then go ahead and come down into your sleeping pigeon. So if you have your block handy, I love putting my forehead on my block in pigeon pose. It allows me just to kind of settle out. Sometimes it's easier to keep your head a little bit higher to try and keep your hips and your shoulders square. This is super important to get that nice big stretch in through that left hip. And then you can encourage that left shin bone to roll forward as you back. And as that hip softens and releases. You might have to play with your left ankle. So if you find any tension or pain in your knee, you may need to flex your left foot, meaning that you need to rotate back even more. If you can lengthen your toe away from your shin bone, it will allow you some movement, some rotation through that shin, but be kind to your knee joints. So please modify if you feel this in your knees. All right, let's take 2 or 3 more breaths. I just love pigeon. Hang out there a little bit longer. You can add, those little micro movements, little side to side. And then when you're ready, you're gonna walk yourself up into that nice proud pigeon. Bring your weight onto that left bum cheek. And as you bring your right leg around, we're actually just going to cross it in front. So right leg is in front, just coming into that nice, easy cross-legged position. And then take your left hand, reach it all the way up towards the sky. Take it across your right thigh and windmill the other arm. Tuck it into your back tail. So you're coming into a seated twist. Draw your shoulders down, encourage your breastbone to lift up. Relax your knees towards the floor. I want you to think about inhaling, lifting up through the crown. And as you exhale, melt into your pose. Right shoulder blade towards left hip pocket. And you can take your gaze towards your back shoulder if that is available to you, or out to the side. But I really want you to think about trying to melt into the pose rather than force yourself into the pose. Softness into the hips. And let's take one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, take your right hand, bring it over top of your left and come into that nice big hug. Now I want you to feel free to just stay in this hug. Maybe you need an extra hug tonight. Or you can come and twist high into your eagle arms. Feel that big stretch through the upper back. Bring your shoulders away from your ears. We're gonna add a little lift of the elbows as you inhale, and as you exhale, draw the navel in, bring your elbows towards your pelvis. Open up through your back, tuck your chin. Inhale, lift up. Exhale. Inhale to lift. Exhale. And one more time. Inhale, lift your hands, keep them reaching all the way to the sky. And then take your fingertips to the back. Turn your fingertips forward if you can. And we're just gonna shift back onto our sit bones, but lift forward. So sit bones, come to the front. Bring your soles of your feet together, coming into that cobbler pose. Externally rotating open through our thighs as we push the mounds of our feet together. But try to stay on the fronts of your sit bones without losing into that low back. Lift up, shoulder blades together, open through the chest, relax the jaw. Maybe tongue just behind your teeth. Imagine that you're keeping that big puff marshmallow in the back of your throat, keeping lots of space. I guess not the marshmallows in your throat, but in your mouth. Don't put in your throat, that would be bad. All right, lots of breathing, big open chest. Squeeze the blades, roll the shoulder blades, feel nice, big stretch. I want you to keep lifting out that low back in this pose as we stretch the inner thighs. 2 more. And then we're gonna bring those knees together, lengthen those legs out in front, take your hands all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. I'm gonna take my hands over top the fronts of my toes, and I'm gonna push my feet into my hands. So think about using that to stretch a little bit more, contracting in through our feet joints, for our feet muscles, and finding that stretch through the front. I guess that's the back of the wrist and into my upper back. And again, this is a really great stretch that you can modify a little bit to find some side body stretch here by pushing through one foot, a little bit more stretch in the side to relax that foot, push through the other foot, find a little bit of stretch, come back, push through the left foot, lengthen out a little bit more through side body on the left, relax the foot, and again, push through right foot. Beautiful. And release. Go ahead and inhale, come up. I'm gonna just swing my legs around to the back and come back up into my tabletop. You can get there however you'd like to. We're gonna tuck our toes, come back up into your downward facing dog. Now your option is to just hang out here, or if you want to follow me through one flow, you can. Up onto your toes, into your nice tall plank, inhalation at the top of it, exhalation to chaturanga, come down. Inhale to lift up into little baby cobra, or higher to cobra, or even higher to upward facing dog. And then let's go back into downward facing dog, where we're gonna pick up our right foot and do the whole thing on the other side. So 3-legged dog, right leg is lifted. Bring the right knee to the right elbow, come down into your plank pose. Right knee to left elbow, back to the right elbow. Push back to 3-legged dog. Do it again. Same side knee, squeeze through the glute, or the outer hip, I guess, glute, mid, and through the core muscles. Press back. One more time. Right knee, right elbow, left elbow, right elbow, pigeon pose. And press back. So I want you to come into your nice proud pigeon first, setting yourself up, lengthen your toe behind, open through your chest. We want to try and get the hips square. Try and get the right knee to the outside of your left hand. So everybody's going to be different. Remember, we have lots of modifications of our pigeon pose, from the seated pigeon or figure 4. So if you really don't like pigeon, please pick an option or an alternate pose for this one. Let's take that deep breath in. Exhale, come down into sleeping pigeon. Use your block if you'd like to rest your forehead. Let's see if we can square the shoulders and the hips so that we're not shifting into that right bum cheek. We want to try and let the right hip open, find the stretch by keeping our pelvis nice and square. And you can add some movement if you'd like. Take your breath to that right side, and as it releases, you can shift your body weight back a little bit more. And again, think about what your knee is telling you. Does it like this pose? We want to be kind to all of our body parts. And that is why there are so many different yoga poses for many of the same body parts so that there is something for everyone. And go ahead and take 2 or 3 more really big breaths. Just melt into that right shin bone. Allow that right hip to release. And last one. We're going to start to come back up into that proud pigeon, bring our body weight onto that right bum. Bring that back leg all the way around and just tuck it in front into a cross-legged position. Go ahead and wiggle those legs. We're going to take that right hand, lift it all the way up, take it to the outside of that left thigh, and then windmill the left hand. Use that as your second spine or kickstand. And then see if you can roll the tips of your shoulders open as you pull the belly button in and come into your seated twist. See if you can relax through your hips at the same time. So if you find you need to lift yourself up onto a little cushion or extra mat to allow those hips to release, please do so. On every inhalation, think about growing that spine a little taller. And on every exhalation, melt into that twist. Left shoulder blade reaching towards right hip pocket. Let's take one more breath, really think tall. And as you exhale, take that back hand, left hand, bring it over top of that right, and give yourself a nice big hug. Feel free to keep your arms there. The back is wide, shoulders relaxed, or come into our twist type eagle arms. And then as you inhale, take the little lift of your elbows. As you exhale, bring elbows towards the pelvis, pull the navel to spine, push your shoulders away from the ears, open up through the back. Inhale, lift up. Exhale. Inhale to lift. And exhale. Let's take one more breath. One more exhalation to really open up through our back. And inhale the hands up. Take them behind to open up through the chest. This time we're going to take our legs wide. So just a little bit wider than your mat. And go ahead and just roll them one side. Internally rotating that right leg. And then internally rotating the other leg. I want you to try and keep your tummy pulled in as you do this, pushing the top knee away from you to create a bit more of a stretch and keeping that strong ankle to protect that knee joint as you rotate. Let's go one more time each side. Keeping that chest lifted, and last one. Nice. Let's just take those heels in line with our hips, come up tall, curl the tail under this time into our modified boat pose. Inhale, one hand to lift. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, the other hand to lift. Exhale, down. Open the hands out. Let's go halfway down. Open the hands out and come all the way down. Bring those knees into your armpits, just for a little rock side to side. Now we're going to finish off with one final tiny little core exercise that you can take away with you for the week to practice on, because we are going to work on it next week. I want you to take your shin bones and take them parallel to the ground. And let's just flex the feet. Just bring some tone into your body. And I want you to tuck your fingers underneath that low back. So we are supposed to have a natural curve in our lower spine. So we want to try and see if we can create that low spine by flattening our sacrum to our mat and our rib cage to our mat, but keeping that little tiny bit of a curve. Some people, they can't, and their belly will start to pop up and the hips will rotate down. If that is you, go ahead and push your spine into the ground to start. I want you to take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, lower one foot down to the ground. And you can do it as a toe or you can do it as a heel, and then come back up. Without the pelvis moving, lower it down and come back up. So small. Lower it down, exhale. Inhale to lift up. Now you can slow it down even more if you want. You can exhale on the lower, take a breath at the bottom, and exhale on lifting. We're gonna add just a tiny little change. You can take this home with you. Go ahead and lower your toe down to the ground. Don't let anything change in the pelvis. Slide your left foot away from you. This time, press to your heel. Slide it away. It's hovering off the ground. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring it all the way up tall and inhale it back to the start. Let's try the other side. Exhale, lower your right foot down to the ground. Inhale, press the heel away from you. Let it hover off your mat. Exhale, squeeze everything. Lift that leg all the way up. Inhale back down to the start. Now you can keep these both single legs at a time, or if your body allows you to, tight tummies and good backs, you are going to exhale both feet down. Only if your back is strong, try this. Otherwise, stick with singles. Inhale, legs away. Exhale, legs up. Inhale, legs back to center. Let's try that one more time. Exhale, lower the feet. Everything is tight. If this bothers your back, please stick with single legs. Blow them away and take them back up. Oh, so good. All right, let's bend our knees, tuck our hands around the shins, rock side to side. We will be doing that last little exercise next week. And I'm hoping to spend a little bit more time on our floor poses next week. So bring your strap. Let's just lengthen the right leg away, keep the left leg in. Just gonna finish off with just a little rotation. Twist pose, reclined twist pose, just to allow us to release that low back. So go ahead and take that left leg over, draw the belly in. Just a tiny little stretch here. You can hold for a couple of breaths. Sometimes it's nice to finish with this one just to reset the hips. Bring that leg back to center, extend it, bring the right leg in, give it a little squeeze. And then go ahead and take that right leg to the left side as you roll the right hip bone on top of the left. Again, draw the belly button in. Think about pushing the hip away. And resetting the pelvis. And then bring it back in. And then go ahead and lengthen on out into your final resting pose. That could be long legs, long arms, or bent. And just take a really deep breath in. With a sigh, let it go. Take a deep breath in. And with a sigh, just let it go. And just do a little mental scan of your body, starting down at your toes, working up through the legs and into the pelvis and the hips. Make those little adjustments if you need to bring those hips in line with the shoulders. Even body length through side bodies. Evenness through front body and back body. Palms are turned up, tips of the shoulders rolled back. Feeling nice and wide across the collar. Nice and wide into the blades. Inhaling in through our nose, into the belly cavity, up into the lungs. Exhaling from the lungs, the belly, and out the nose. And on every inhalation, I want you to think about getting maybe a little bit longer on your mat. And on every exhalation, think about getting a little heavier on your mat. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to soften. Just allow all that tension to melt away. And feel free to stay in your resting pose a little bit longer. Or if you'd like to finish off your practice with us tonight, slowly bring your legs back into your belly one by one. Maybe a little rock before coming onto your side and slowly making your way up into a cross-legged seated position. And whenever you get here, to find that balance between right sit bone and left sit bone. Feel a lift of the spine, one vertebrae at a time, lifting out the crown of the head. We're opening up through the heart, tucking the chin slightly. Let's take one really big breath in, taking the hands and the gaze wide to the sky, just embracing this evening, bringing palms back together and sliding them down to heart center. And namaste. And this is my big hug from me to you tonight. So I'm going to just move into the other room real quickly so I can hit stop record.